Hey, today I'm talking about the brand new Candyman movie. I'm also gonna talk about My Blind Brother as well as Mean Streets. It's just three completely random movies. I wanted to do a theme, but then it didn't work out, and I only have myself to blame. So, yeah. First up is Candyman. So I was pretty dang hyped for this movie. The trailers looked pretty great. I have not seen the original or any of its sequels. I tend to not do that with these, what I perceived was a modern remake, but it turns out this is kind of actually more of just a sequel to the original in a very natural way. And I think I kind of did myself a little bit of a disservice by not watching the original. I still liked it a good amount though. If you're unfamiliar with the basic premise, it's about this gentrified area of Chicago where it's kind of haunted by the Candyman. So it's a big, spooky, scary movie. I would put it on par with Us, especially just like aesthetically, story-wise, not quite spooks-wise, because I found Us more scary. This one was a bit more unsettling than scary, which was a little confusing to me because I'm like, this is kind of scary stuff happening, but I'm not like scared. So that's actually kind of what brought it down a little bit, but I think that's more so on me. I think I just wasn't completely in the right headspace to get scared by this movie. I think on future rewatch, which I definitely will rewatch this movie, I will get more creeped out by it. I definitely enjoyed it though, and I recommend it if you're intrigued by it. I definitely recommend it if you've seen the original. Though, from my understanding, the advertisements are kind of lying a little bit about like, there are some characters from the original movie that came back for this, but the ads kind of make it look like they're in a good amount of the movie, and they are in the movie, but it's a very small amount. I do think you can go into this movie having not seen the original like me, because they do explain a lot of past stuff very, very well. But I think you'd get more out of the experience had you seen the original. That's my plan, is in a couple years, I'll watch the original and then I'll watch this one again. Next up is My Blind Brother. This is a 2016 movie starring Adam Scott, Nick Knoll, and Jenny Slate. I wanted to watch this because I crazy love Jenny Slate in Obvious Child, and this looked like it was probably gonna be pretty good too. And yeah, it was great. The basic premise is it's about two brothers, one of whom is blind, and this girl that they meet, Jenny. The movie's about like forgiving yourself for past trauma and just trying to move on past trauma as well, and just kind of figuring out how to live your life with past trauma as well. I was more specific with my description to this movie to my dad because I really enjoyed this movie and I wanted to tell him about it. And like I kept having to be like, yeah, that sounds really dark. Everything I'm talking about is really dark. But it's actually like a lighthearted comedy. Like, it's very light. It's not a dark movie. Even though they talk about very, very dark, real things, they handle it in a very lighthearted, but still kind of cathartic type of way. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie and I definitely recommend it. I particularly, again, loved Jenny Slate's performance. I was so blown away by her performance in Obvious Child, and just she continues to be great here. Just the way she emotes, she does it so well, and I can just instantly care about whatever it is she's crying about or whatever it is she's angry about or whatever her emotion she's experiencing. I'm just like, I'm on board. Whatever you're doing, I'm there. Also, you know, Adam Scott's great. You love him when he's a lovable character, and when he's an awful character, you love to hate him. And he's just great. And then Nick Knoll does Nick Knoll stuff, and he's solid. It's him being likable, and him likable is good. So yeah, I without a doubt recommend this movie. It's terrific. It does talk about some dark issues, but it talks about them in a very lighthearted way. So yeah, it's just good times. And lastly is Mean Streets. This is a 1973 Martin Scorsese film starring Harvey Keitel and Robert De Niro, my fourth one of him. My birthday, bro. The basic premise is it's kind of just like a slice of life gangster film, which is a weird sentence to say, but like there really isn't an overarching plot. Like there is like kind of an overarching story, like they They set it up at the beginning and then resolve it at the end, but everything in the middle is just kind of like meandering about doing gangster shit. And it's pretty good. To use a film term, it's cinema verite, like there's lots of like handheld stuff and just kind of going with the flow of whatever is happening. That was popular at that time. But it's good. I enjoyed it. This is definitely the youngest I've seen Robert De Niro, and he just looks so skinny and so wiry, and just, he does a lot of mannerisms that my nephew does that I find really annoying, and it's weird to see an actor that I really like doing the things that my nephew does. I don't know how to feel about that. I do think he gives a good performance. Harvey Keitel really carries the movie though. He was great. I feel like this movie has probably been a big inspiration over the years. I think Quentin Tarantino probably really enjoys this movie. I just got a lot of Quentin Tarantino vibes from this movie. And I mean, he did cast Harvey Keitel and Robert De Niro in some of his movies. So it would make sense if he's seen this and enjoyed it. Yeah, I couldn't quite put this one in the really liked category, partly just because I wasn't really blown away by anything or super connected to it, but then also just like its treatment of women and minorities felt a little iffy, so quite like is high enough for this movie. I would say though, if you're intrigued by it, go for it. If you like gangster movies, go for it. If you like any of those actors, go for it. If you like Martin Scorsese, go for it. It's not a bad movie by any means. Alrighty, now for the day's rankings. First up, we have Candyman, sitting at number 20 in the quite like section of the new movies. So that's out of a total of 44 new movies so far this year. And then switching over to the old movies, we got My Blind Brother, sitting at number 29 in the really liked category. And then seemingly long way down from there is Mean Streets, sitting at number 83 in the quite like section. And those two movies are out of a total of 199 old movies so far this year. And those three altogether bring the grand total of all the movies I've watched this year up to 243.